Now, you're gonna be able to have your bedroom at, let's say, 68 degrees if you're a psycho like me, or 72 if you're a normal person. We can install that thermostat within 1 to 3 days. What does that do?
Solidifies the deal.
Prevents cancellations. Boom, throw the thermostat on there, you got a done deal. Let's say I'm dealing with a competitive bid, okay? They tell them, they go to their house, they're on Zoom, they're online, or they're in person. Most sales reps are going to do what? They're gonna go, I'm gonna do the biggest system possible, 14 kilowatt system, right? 14 kilowatt system, that's what you're gonna need for your house. You show up, you go, hey, listen, the normal thing in sales is to try to get people the biggest system possible in order to make the most amount of money. That's not what we do. We're energy efficiency experts. So let's go ahead and take a look around your house to see where we can fix things before we start throwing the biggest possible system in your house. Now what am I doing? I'm coming off as an expert, like I'm there to actually help the person out, right? It's like a good mechanic. You know, if you go to a mechanic who's just trying to make money off you, and he recommends 6,000 things, you go to another mechanic, it's like, no, we can actually do this, this, and this, it's gonna save you a lot of money. You're gonna go with that guy, right? And so when you're doing that, now I can sell that person a 10 kilowatt system, add in all the upsell stuff, right? The attic fan, the insulation, the thermostat, all that good stuff. So now they're it would look like 80% offset, but it's actually 100% because it's made their home more energy efficient, significantly more energy efficient. So my price is gonna be less than theirs, even though I can price my actual solar system higher because it's smaller, right? So where I would have possibly had to make $500 a kilowatt on the system in order to compete with someone else, now I'm coming as the expert and now I'm doing all these other things. If they make a phone call to the other solar company, they're like, yeah, well, they're giving me this, and this, it's not really costing me anything. They're gonna be left with nothing, right? And I know that because I used to work with solar installers back in California, who all they did was a lease. That's all we did. And then out of nowhere, I'd get calls like, yeah, but they're doing my air conditioning, this, and I'm getting a tax credit. I was like, that's hard to compete with. And I, still try to circle with them, but now we're in a spot, specifically as an installer, subcontractor, any of their work, all of that stuff is all gonna be done in-house. And you're gonna get your insulation, all that, everything done within about 2 weeks in Hillsborough County. Right, so we can get all of those home renovations done. You get a tax credit on the entire system, right? So that dollar installation is really 70 cents, right? That attic fan that was $800 is now realistically $550 because they're getting 30% back on everything. Huge win for those customers. If you guys don't know, there's an author by the name of Orrin Clough who wrote a book called Pitch Anything. Incredibly good. I mean, it was really beneficial. If my 3 books that I recommend when someone starts are Door-to-Door Millionaire, right? That's your first one. That gets you in the door. What that book does is it just kind of explains, it makes the whole business of door-to-door appear way more fun than what you would think in your head. Whatever fears you have or anything else, it gives you all those nice little tidbits that helps you out. And this is a guy who made $1 million doing, I think, pest control in like Idaho. Not exactly an easy market to be doing pest control in. Absolute savage salesman, so it teaches you a lot there. The second book is Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. Jordan's an absolute stud, probably watched the movie. I don't recommend you partaking in his recreational activities, but he was very, very good at selling. And so what he talks about in that book is a straight line, which is that in between every single prospect becoming an actual sale, you have a straight line path that you can get to in order to win that customer over, and that any objections that they're presenting are generally just smoke screens that have a lot to do with not trusting you. One of my favorite things in the book that he brings up is that in order for a customer to go with you, they have to be a 10 out of 10 on you, on the product, and on the company. And so what that means is 10 out of 10 trusting you, 10 out of 10 on the idea that solar works, and a 10 out of 10 on Pacific United Power, right? That's how that works. And in the book, I'm using that straight line for pretty much the whole close. That's what we're using. We're building up the pain, we're creating the sense of urgency, we're pulling back, and we're closing those deals. The third book that will not make sense until you read the first 2 is called Pitch Anything by Orrin Clough. And so what he's talking about there, you can do these all on Audible, which I tend to retain things better whenever I listen to them. Pitch Anything, yeah, it's just great. You're just driving around, taking in information, hang out, you get a card, and then use your app and leave the library immediately. So Pitch Anything, it goes into basically pre-wired aspects of human evolution that lead to people trusting you. So like how to pitch someone appropriately and how to use specific frames, right? So I talked about this a lot when I'm talking about the power frame, which is a common tactic in Florida, which is you get that old cube and it's like, no, I'm not interested. I'm okay. And kind of how to use that against them by taking away your product. So he wrote a new book called Flipping the Script, which I've been really getting into. And before we go into each portion of that training, I'm going to talk about two things. One is tonight, I posted it on GroupMe. We're going to be doing a PUP event. We do those usually about once a month over at Tampa 11. It's an arcade plus bar plus 1,000 other things. It's just a great way to get people to connect outside of just door knocking. When I first got into solar, the big thing for me was as soon as I was at the top, which took about 3 months in my third month, I sold 29 deals in 1 month. After that happened, in my head, I was like, okay, I will never be second for the rest of my life. I never, ever wanted to be second again. And that kind of competitive edge will make you a lot of money. It'll also give you anxiety, gray hair, and you gotta check your health out, but you'll make a fuck ton of money. And so it's worth it, right? This whole like work-life balance thing is BS. It's something that people talk about and we're lazy. The thing about status throughout most of human history is that very few people were able to change it. You were kind of whoever you were whenever you're born into that. Wherever your parents were at, that was about where you're gonna land. Sales allows for an opportunity to completely jump out of that. I've been in this position for a long time, and I've ran through many reps over many years, and I've seen Uber drivers go from making $50 to $100 a day to making $400,000 in a year. Sales is a vehicle for that opportunity. But the person you're talking to when you knock their door isn't going to necessarily know that. In a lot of cases, you don't necessarily want them to know that. You don't necessarily want them to know that you're going to make $8,000 to $10,000 on their deal. It's not like public information that everyone needs to know in the situation. And you deserve that money, right? Because you are paid in direct proportion to the problems that you're capable of solving, as Elon Musk says. It's a great quote, and it's something to really keep in mind with this. But when we're knocking a door, we have to go from a pest to a guest. The quickest way to do that is by letting them know, through a little bit of nudging, that we are at least equal to them. And one of the quickest ways that people in higher status situations do that is by using specific vernacular or word usage. So doctors have their own set of words that they use. I know because my father's a physician. When they're talking, they have a very specific way of talking. Car guys, one of the best ways, and we've talked about this earlier this week, when you are knocking in, say, an area like Brandon and everyone does a truck, if you talk about trucks and owning a truck, you can immediately get in status with them because you guys both relate on something that's common to both of you. My favorite people possible are real estate agents and mortgage brokers. I was a mortgage broker before I was in solar. So let's say you're trying to sell a mortgage broker. Start by showing that you understand their industry by using their own jargon. Then move the conversation to yourself by mentioning a similar client that you recently helped. Finally, show that you've done your research by explaining the pros and cons moving forward. End result is status alignment. Your client now believes you understand the complexity of both your industry and theirs. As we talked about before, the whole reason for analogies is it's something I understand and you understand. If I try to bring up some analogy on a topic that I don't understand, to you, I'm gonna sound like a dummy, right? Because they're gonna go, oh, you don't understand what we're actually doing here. So I don't know shit about football. So if I try to compare solar to football in any single way, it's gonna be bad. They're gonna mention something, it's gonna be off. If I'm talking to a gun guy, I just shift the conversation immediately. Because unless you're super into guns, they will judge everything you have to say. It's really weird, right? But on the mortgage guy, if you're talking to a mortgage broker, mortgage loan officer, real estate agent, those types of people, what are phrases that you can use in order to trigger a sense of safety with the customer?
Equity.
Equity, debt to income, DTI, right? Debt to income ratio.
ROI.
ROI, great. Liability versus asset. Do you know who also understands that kind of terminology? Everyone has bought a house. So if you've never purchased a house, that's fine. You will soon, if you're doing this for long enough, right? But there are certain phrases that people hear when they're trying to get a house. Debt to income ratio, lines of liability. If you bring those up with customers, whether they're in the mortgage industry, real estate industry, or any other, they're gonna get at least the same level of comfort in knowing that you're not just some pest control guy who's trying to get rid of the mosquitoes. You're a person who actually understands how finances work and how this can be beneficial for that customer. Achieving status alignment gets your foot in the door, that's vital, but it's only the first step. Second is credibility. You establish your credibility quickly and unquestionably. Imagine the scenario. You think you're winning over customers, so you go ahead and grab your ID, we're going to do a quick responsibility check. And then they say something like, I'll have to think about it and talk it over with my family. And it feels like someone just put a nail in your foot and smashed it down. You're just like, damn it, okay? And what's happening here is what like the customer has probably experienced what's known as a certainty gap. In other words, they're not convinced that you'll be able to deliver what you're promising. Because that's the hardest part about this job, is actually teaching people that is not too good to be true. If every single person simply believed the words that were coming out of their mouth, right? Like that, what was that movie where no one can lie except this one dude? The whole premise of the movie was like, everyone only told the truth, so he just started saying stuff like, I'm the president. And people are like, oh, you must be the president, right?
Yeah,
I'm the best looking person in the world. Ridiculous movie, right? If the world was like that and people just simply trusted what we had to say, we wouldn't need sales guys. We would just be order takers. And we're paid so well because it is difficult to get people to believe everything that we're saying. And the best way to do that is by establishing credibility and unquestionably. When a salesperson encounters a certainty gap, their instinct is to fill it with information. They write off a list of satisfied clients, boast about innovative features, and break down the price to show what tremendous value you're offering. And when you do that, it makes you actually look low status. That's like going up to a potential boss, and you're just like, well, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. I'm great, nothing's wrong with me at all. It's just like, that's kind of okay, all right. There's a kind of an odd thing there. Or if you're trying to win over another person, you start to come off as desperate. No matter what they say, you'll say you'll be able to do it twice as well. The only way you can answer this question is to show you're an expert. And the fastest, most effective way to do that is what's called a flash roll. So flash roll is this. It's a rapid fire explosion of information designed to showcase your absolute command of a complicated subject. I do this a lot when I'm interviewing people, but I also do it when I'm with customers or anything else. What's happening is that you have about 60 seconds to be able to describe a complex matter. They might not understand everything you're saying. Essentially, because of the way your roof line is set up and everything else, I'm guessing you're spending over $150 a month on your electric. The main reason is just that as you have all these new home builds and more people moving to Florida with electric cars and things like that, we're just in an energy deficit. So the way this program works, it's using the Biden initiative program where you guys get a big tax rebate at the end of the year. And then what happens is, instead of you, because are you on a fixed income by chance? Okay, got it. So the thing about your bill right now is that you're not sure what you're gonna spend month to month. And with this, it just sticks you at a flat rate where I can guarantee you'll pay nothing out of pocket at all, right? Because it's a subsidized program. So I know you guys got things going on right now. Yeah. All we were trying to do on our end is just get you the actual numbers to see if the home qualifies. Based on the bar graph on page 1 of your TICO bill, do you guys usually take care of that through paper or electric? Because the thing is that as solar gets more expensive, which it has over the last 2 years, those savings are getting lower and lower. This is a really interesting tactic, but it seems to work a lot. I wasn't even aware that there was a phrase for it until I saw this in the book. I was like, oh yeah, we do this all the time. And I've seen some of the top guys do this pretty consistently. You should be able to talk about the problem with utilities, net metering, and solar timeline in about 60 seconds, and it should be able to flow easily and they should be able to understand it. So on the topic of the solar timeline, on the back of these packets, on the last page of the packet, you have this section. And I do this every single time after I show pricing before I say, should we go ahead and sign up or anything else. I go through this quickly so they know they're taken care of. It's a step-by-step process of what happens after you sign up for solar. So I tell them. So the first thing we're gonna do today is we actually gotta get you approved by 3 different companies. One of them is, another one is Service Financial. They're actually backed by Truist, if you know them. And the third company is TICO. Your guys' utility can actually kick it back if there's any cases. After that, we're going to go ahead, we'll get the final design back. We'll meet back here in about a week's time so we can go over the entire report. After that, you'll be signing the notice of commencement, which allows you to pull permits on the project. The utility approval, permitting, we pull permits, we set up for installation. After installation, you're going to get an email from TICO letting you know that you've been installed and allows us to be able to interconnect with that system. Make sure you answer that email. That's the thing that can prevent you from being able to get your system turned on for 2 months. And then the system gets inspected, we turn the system on. Your first payment, that 162 versus what you're spending before 250 with TICO, will not be due until 60 days after installation. Does that sound fair enough? 60 seconds, clear, concise. They feel like this guy knows exactly what's going to happen step by step. I wrote this entire thing out, this whole drawing, everything, right? Based off of me saying that thing enough times, and I knew after dealing with customer after customer after customer, the main thing they're worried about is that they sign up for something and then you're gone. They want someone to hold their hand and carry them to the finish line. They don't want you to go away. This is where you'll end up with more calls from customers while you're getting ahead to to try to get the installation. You should be making as many calls to your customers as they are making to you. Right, MJ? So you're nodding your head?
Absolutely.
You get a lot of installs, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you reach out to your customers. I reach out to customers even if there's nothing to tell them. It's literally just calling, hey, just checking in, just letting you know the design's through. We're going ahead and pull permits right now. I just wanted to know if you had any additional questions along those lines, because it looks like everything's good to go on our end. And they'll come up with questions that you know you answered 16 times before. You'll find this with LOLs, little old ladies. They will ask the same question 53 times. And you're just gonna answer it again, and it's fine, because you're gonna get paid a lot of money. I totally understand. Just to remind you, we did go over this when we first met. And if you say that part first, they will then apologize for even asking the question. It's great, like it works. Because in their head, they're going, oh, I apologize. But it's totally okay. Just explain the production guarantee again, or whatever it is, or root penetration warranty, whatever it is on the products and features list that they might have a question about. And then sometimes they have dumb questions, right? And that's okay, we just get through that. What if an alien showed up and gave us all free power? Would I still have a solar panel payment? Actual question asked me. Guy was a pothead.
What?
And I just say, yeah. And I just go, well, to be fair, if alien showed up, I think the last thing you'd be worried about is your lease payment. And then he laughed, and then we moved on. Right? Because if it is an out of the blue weird question, you follow it up by kind of making fun of it. So did you guys get that notice about the fuel prices increasing over the course of since January, about 27%? Do you know why we have to deal with the fuel prices going up? Because back in 2019, the DeSantis administration switched us over from coal to natural gas. And so now, as natural gas prices have went up 300% since 2020, we've now had the highest utility increase in the entire nation. And that's led to people on average spending over $492 extra a year for the same power they were using back in 2020. And so as it went up $492 over the course of that period of time, right, per year, now there's a mandate to get 50% of our power by 2030, 100% of our power by 2050 to be renewable. So that's wind, tide, and solar power. So the way this program works is that rather than donating your money to shareholders and lobbyists, who's all that money's going to, right? I don't know if you know this, but they spent $893 million of your money to convert from coal to natural gas. $893 million. That wasn't paid by the shareholders, that's paid by you. It's paid by the little grandma down the street. So that is a clear-cut, factual way of being able to spend problem utilities without having to exaggerate anything, manipulate any of the facts, and it's all Googleable. All of that is just true. We are in an Enron level bad situation with utilities in Florida right now. And as far as net metering, the way this works is really simple. As of right now with your utilities, you are paying for transportation, fuel charges, and reconstruction charges with TECO. Instead, what's going to happen is we're going to place the panels on your home. If your home's eligible, you're not going to pay a penny out of pocket in order to do it. What's going to happen is that from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. we're going to produce all the energy you need in the day. So your meter is going to start going like this. And so what's going to happen is it's going to start selling back that energy to the grid, and that's the power we're going to be using at night. And if you take a look on your bill, there's a portion on there called the Clean Energy Transition Mechanism. That pays for excess solar production by your neighbors. So you're actually already paying for solar. We're just trying to get you to make money off it. I used the Clean Energy Transition Mechanism this morning. He goes, I'm paying for my neighbor's solar. I was like, yeah, you're paying for Todd's solar, because I installed his neighbor. You're already paying for it. He was like, oh, okay. So everything made a lot more sense to him afterwards. Yeah, and he was so bought in on the net metering aspect, I ended up selling him 150% offset.
What? Is that allowed?
It would have been the smallest system I've ever done. It was 4 kilowatts. He was averaging a $65 bill. So, but we chatted about it for a little bit. He was planning on selling his house. He was just like, I feel like I'm really conservative with my power. I was like, no kidding, you have the smallest system I'd ever have. He's like, yeah, we leave it at like 80 degrees and turn it off all the time. You bought a $400,000 house cash and you're turning off your AC. That's not a way to live, my friend. So I took his bill from 65 and brought it to 101.
Wow.
But he's getting 50% more power per day. So, and when he sells his house, that will be the adequate power supply required for someone actually moving into that home.
True.
So next up, as far as being able to close your client, now when we're talking about this topic of solar, we can make it sound almost revolutionary. It kind of is. It's this amazing thing where we are no longer slave to the utilities increasing. the type of person that likes doing revolutionary, crazy things is not necessarily the old lady you're trying to sell to at that time, right? They haven't made it this far by making a bunch of like hoorah actions throughout their life. Most people are living lives of quiet mediocrity where they just kind of live their life day to day. That's what they're doing. And so when you're trying to position your sale as you're going to be the only neighbor here who has solar, you're going to be the only person investing in this new, crazy, amazing technology, that's just going to scare them. It's all going to happen. And then you're going to hear stuff like, I'll wait till some other people go solar, which is just crazy to me. And so you have to frame your proposal in terms your clients are familiar with. Everybody wants to be an innovator and a trailblazer. Salespeople are no different. But your clients might not feel the same way. They're likely to be more hesitant. This is just human nature. Whenever we're presented with something that's completely unfamiliar, we're put on the brakes. Your client might be thinking, sure, this revolutionary product may seem attractive, but what are the risks? Rather than looking for something new, you're likely to fall back and comfortable and familiar. So you have to frame your proposal in terms your clients are familiar with. So there are over 1,000 different ice cream flavors in the world. By far and away, the one that people like the most, or say they like the most, is vanilla. It isn't hard to figure out why. The more exotic flavors may sound interesting once in a while, but we know what we're getting with vanilla. It's reliable, right? It's just a reliable flavor. When you're pitching your idea, product opportunity, you should describe it in plain vanilla terms. So how do we do that? How do we make them comfortable with the idea? Did you know that FPL has already invested into buying 30 million solar panels? So obviously the utilities think it works. Tico, Duke, they've also spent money on solar panels. Those are companies that they're comfortable with. Do we like those companies? Not a lot, but they've been reliable for them for the last 30 years. So we can't go in, it's like trying to talk a new friend into breaking up with their significant other, even though you know they're bad for them. If we just start ambushing them, saying everything bad about them, they're gonna go, I don't like you, go away. It's gonna feel uncomfortable in that situation. You can use neighbors as references, compare their rates going up to gas prices. Instead of saying, hey, we're gonna do this loan, 25 years, bumper to bumper warranties, all this good stuff, you just ask a simple question. Hey, hypothetically, let's get out of the conversation of solar completely. If I could get you the gas prices of 2019, and you'd have that same rate for the next 25 years, would you do that? Everyone would agree. It's the same way. All we're doing is we're just getting you a fixed rate in your electricity that you would have been spending back in 2020, and it never goes up. It's comparable to something that they understand. When they talk about transportation and distribution fees, on the back of page 3 on Duke, FPL, and Tico's bills, if you take a look at your bill at home or anything else, or when you get it from a customer, you'll notice that 50% of their payment isn't even towards the actual energy. It's fuel charges, transportation fees, distribution fees. What's the best comparable? Hey, would you buy a pizza for 50 bucks from a company that charges you $70 to deliver to your house? Probably not, right? So we're kind of like the Amazon Prime Power. We cut out all the shipping and handling charges to get you power directly at your home. Amazon Prime, right? Shipping and handling fees gone. Before Amazon Prime, most people don't know, there used to be shipping fees on everything. It was crazy, right? And you'd go to a different company because their shipping and handling fees were lower, right? You let them know how long it's been around. How long is it been around? 16 years. That is a long time in this solar world, right? You've been around for 16 years. We actually started out as a roofing and electric company, which is why I chose to work with them, because they're going to ensure that your roof is taken care of over the course of the next 25 years. And they've been doing solar for about the last 6 years, right? Which is about as long as solar has actually made sense before. That's a release point. I just go, about as long as solar has made sense before. Because it didn't make sense before the utility rates went up so high. Okay. No matter how new or unique your proposal, it can always be traced back to something familiar. To close a deal, you'll need to hit the sweet spot between the new and the old. Leveraging pessimism. Alex Moses talks about this a lot. Using no to actually win over your customers and pulling back. If you're telling someone, this is a brand new technology, it's not going to cost you $1 out of pocket, we're going to raise your equity in your home by $80,000, we're going to eliminate your utility bill, get you a fixed rate of $160 a month, we're going to insure your roof for the next 25 years, you're not going to have to worry about a damn thing. Why hasn't everyone done it, right? That is totally understandable response. Why hasn't everyone done it? I ask that question every single day. So we have to leverage their pessimism. So salespeople, average youthful salesperson, ultimate optimist, they'll do everything possible to project that optimism on you. Whatever they're selling is the deal of a lifetime. It will never break, it will never go wrong. Whatever your concerns, they'll have an answer. A buyer's questions come from a healthy skepticism that you're being offered something too good to be true. A great salesperson will not brush that aside. The way to use your buyer's pessimism is by creating a script known as the buyer's formula. Just so you know, our sales pitch does this exactly. It's called the pullback. This encourages your buyer to feel she's in control of the process while allowing you to direct the process to your advantage. So first you have to establish yourself as an expert. I've done a few of your neighbors' houses and a lot more in South Tampa, and there are absolutely things that can prevent this from working out. If you watch those videos of RSD, how often am I going, that person's house won't work, that person's house won't work, and your house might not even work. I bring that up with customers. I'm like, honestly, I'm not sure if this is gonna work because you have a lot of shade right here. There's a lot of red tape because this is a fully funded project. People love hearing fully funded. It's a fully funded project. If there's too much tree shading like your neighbors down the road, if your electrical was strung together with gum, or possibly you don't have enough roof space, we can't do it. That electrical being strung together with gum actually happened to me about 2 months ago. It sucked, because it turns out they were gonna need like $30,000 worth of electric work on a loan that was already overfunded. Right, so there are real circumstances in which we can't do this. There's a lot of old houses. There's a lot of people out there also who aren't even gonna be able to be credit eligible. And we should not be afraid of these things. I went with Ben to a late night lead the other day. And he had met up with them a couple times, and I went out to the lead, and I could tell she was trying to like redirect us to like, well, maybe this other time, maybe this other thing, I'm not sure. Kept making excuses. And then I just asked, I was like, well, just so you know, you're gonna have to be eligible for it, and it's a credit qualifier. Like, do you have any idea where your credit's at? So the only thing that they check for eligibility-wise is basically to make sure credit's in line. Do you have any idea where yours at?
Mine right now is at 610, so.
610?
I don't got a vehicle for my grandson who in college, so he got bad credit.
Got it. Okay. Then we'll probably pick this back up in a couple months or something.
Okay.
When your credit's a little bit steady, and maybe hopefully we can get everything sorted out with probate.
Okay, then, thank you. All right.
And she just goes, oh no, that's bad. That's real bad. Like, she just started telling me everything is wrong with her credit, everything is wrong with her husband's credit. And I was like, great, cool. See you in 6 months, bye. Like, it was a no-go, right? Her home was like in probate. There was 1,000 other problems going on in her home. Right? There was just no way to win that customer over. And we can save that time. And I'm not saying that to knock Ben out. I used to get credit fails all the time. Like, constantly would get credit fails, especially when I moved out here. Because I came from San Diego, where being broke means you're making $60,000 to $80,000 a year, versus being broke means you're making $12 a year over here. I mean, there are real low-income people who are just in $50,000 to $60,000 debt on their house. You ran into a guy the other day who had what? He was $40,000 behind on his mortgage?
Yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, he would have been kicked out of his house in like 5 minutes in California.
He had a foreclosure notice just sitting on his countertop.
Yeah, that's a no-go. Yeah. You know, I'm not going to let you borrow $80,000 if you can't even spend the money to keep a roof over your head. So you establish yourself as an expert by bringing up the limitations of your product. I'm going to do this in 2 ways here. The next step is to be used for skeptical customers. If they're skeptical of solar as a whole and are feeling TICO pain, this is where you throw out suggestions of what they're probably going to try to do. So your bill's like $400. And you can try and call TICO to lower your bill, or they'll just switch you to budget billing, which goes up with the gas prices. You turn off your AC, but who wants to do that? Maybe toss up some insulation, it could save you a little bit. What I'm doing here is I'm putting ahead. Here are all the things people think they're gonna do, and it's probably not gonna help. Or what you could do is X, Y, Z. And it's important when you do this to really have that skeptic's tone in your voice. Just a little like, you could try and call TICO, but they're not actually gonna lower it. Right? There's no government program that's gonna lower your electricity bill. You can turn off your AC, but you know, what's that gonna do except your life's gonna get a lot worse. If they're skeptical of the amount of panels are going, and this is a big one if you're running into customers who are potential shoppers. And what you want to do is you want to make it look as if it's just going to be a pain in the ass for when they try to shop around. You're not going to talk really badly about other solar installers. You're going to let them come to that conclusion themselves. Now, you can go and take 30 more meetings with solar guys. Some will tell you that you don't need a production guarantee or less panels, or you know, they'll tell you can just get the insurance yourself on the system, the tier 2. They'll probably subcontract out their work, won't be around in 5 years, that's pretty common. And you can end up donating money to TICO every month still, because it didn't size the system correctly. It's just light little suggestions of what could possibly happen, versus immediately saying like, everyone else sucks, they suck, that kind of thing. You're letting them come to the conclusion with light nudging. And this also works when you are dealing with, you're on the door, I've already signed up with another company, you know their bill's $300, you just throw out. Did they tell you about the tier 2 insurance? Did they tell you about the production guarantee? Did they tell you about the 25-year roof penetration warranty? Things you know that separate you out. That tier 2 insurance is a big one. A lot of companies will undersize their systems on purpose because they don't want to have to deal with the insurance part. You'll run into it all the time. I'm sure you run into an MJ.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll run into someone who needs a 14 kilowatt and they're only be given a 10. And they're not doing our attic fans installation and 1,000 other things. Right? They're just doing it on there, hoping that they don't make a customer complaint. These are those guys that come in from Texas, not y'all, but come and sell for like 7 days, sell a bunch of undersized systems, leave, work with some installer, and never gonna work with you. And then call it a day. Right? And then if enough of that happens, then the attorney general gets called, and then there's a lot of problems, and the company gets shut down. Or rated by the feds, like MC Solar. You got it? Yeah, you got to install the permits, baby.
Yeah.
Got to install the permits. Do not.
I dealt with them.
And don't install a bunch of deals without permits, right? Once you've done this, hand the process over to the buyer. Not by asking, if you guys have any questions, but by a detached statement, something along the lines of, that's what I do. So they're free to look at your proposal skeptically, but we've already dealt with 99% of their concerns by focusing their attention on certain key ideas. If they're veering off track, you can easily direct them by saying something like, a lot of things go into this decision, but only these 3 things matter. And this is why in the book I bring it up, this is why in your labor training I bring this up. Whenever you are sitting with someone, your first question is, what's good, bad, and ugly that you heard about solar? It's always your first question. That tells you every single objection they're gonna ask. They're gonna throw right in the front and allows them a venting session, a healthy, quick venting session to go, I know why this is bullshit. And then they start telling you a bunch of stuff. And you're like, great, I agree with you. If we did any of these things, this would suck, but we don't, right? So we allow the venting session. Then you figure out the 3 reasons that they are even bothering to meet with you. Tico's went up, you know, this went up, this is all getting expensive. What about the tax credit? Yeah, no, tax credit, man, that sounds good to go. What about the equity build? Cool, so those are the 3 reasons that you want to go solar? Great, I'm just gonna pay attention to those 3 things. There's 1,000 ways I can sell this product. I can throw solar as an add-on to someone who needs a roof and insulation, 1,000 other things. And I'm gonna really pitch on that roof and that insulation and getting all that done and being able to get a tax benefit because you decided to go solar with it. And so every time on that straight line of that sale, I'm always redirecting to their 3 main goals. And if everything they have tried to do has not led to them getting those 3 main goals, like lowering their bill, let's say they tell me, I ask them a question, so what have you done to lower your bills? You turn it off and see, how did that work out? Man, it was hot and didn't really do much. Okay, so that didn't work, got it. What else did you do, right? I added some insulation, but it was weak. Okay, so that didn't work. And then I turned off the lights, it saved me like $5. So none of those worked? Yeah, so if they need to think about it at the end of the close, what do you do? Hey, listen, you've already made the decision you wanted to lower your electricity. You tried turning off the lights, didn't work, AC didn't work, insulation didn't work, okay? All I'm doing is proposing another solution that I know will work because it's worked with so many other people. Okay? And I'm just trying to put in the paperwork in because there's a lot of red tape between me, you, and those panels on your roof to lower your electricity bill. There's 3 things. So summary, there are 2 things that buyers respond to consistently: authenticity and expertise. People will know when you're trying to put one over on them. So be yourself. What do I mean by be yourself? If you don't believe in the product right now, after learning everything, you can leave, right? This isn't just money grabbing. We're actually selling something that we give a shit about. Really do. I don't want a little old lady with $550 bills. That's crazy. And when you really honestly believe in your idea, your product, your service, that comes through. A lot of people I know from solar, myself included, we're not that great at sales until we actually believe in what we were selling. Whatever it is you're trying to sell, no one knows it better than you. That's the expert line. You're the expert, so draw confidence from that. Your belief in what you're selling will inspire confidence in the people you're selling it to. Where the confidence wavers, stick to your guts. It doesn't matter which decision you're making, just make the fucking decision. And you'll be way better off than anyone just sitting around with their hands in their pockets. Indecision can be seen as a sign of weakness. Buyers will respect you if you say, I may not always be right, but I'm never in doubt. By showcasing who you are and holding firm to your core beliefs, values, and principles, you can present a compelling case for any idea you want to put across. If a customer keeps asking you, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, and you keep giving it to them, you keep giving it to them, you keep giving it to them, by the end, they're going to probably say no because they don't respect it. They're going to go with someone else. It's going to give them half what they asked, but they're actually going to stick with their place. So sales isn't just about goods and services. Sooner or later, we will have to sell ideas, projects, and points of view. By flipping the script, controlling the conversations, and establishing your credibility, you can present your ideas in a way that buyers perceive as natural and inevitable.
Oh man, we got the team together. Everyone's here. We're gonna have a great time.
Let's go. All right, we'll be back.
CV, let's go!
CV, who's CV? Let's go. Oh, it's you. Oh, I'm Mike. I was second. Ah. Come on. Wait.
Best lap time, 33.320.
Yeah, I'm Michael. Oh, you're Michael. Which one are you? Oh, you're Wes. Yeah, I beat your ass. I beat your ass.
By how much though? By how much?
By how much? Let's get the official numbers here. Boom. I'm Michael, this is Wes. Carlos was HHH.
What place you get?
Third. Yes, sir.
Hey YouTube. I have a
No.
mom.
This is not going in. Block this out. This channel is meant to help people with their solar door to door.
Anybody who's motivated to sell solar, you just 100% go in it. Don't, if you start second guessing it, you're already thinking too much.
What do you do when you want to give up?
When you want to give up, that's your, we call it the monkey brain. Your brain is meant to protect you, and we totally get that. But in door to door, you're not the average person. You're getting told no more than the average person. So obviously you're gonna be like, oh, why am I knocking doors? This doesn't make sense. Like, no one's gonna fucking buy this. But that's what separates the people that make $50,000 a month to the people that make maybe $2,000 a month or nothing a month. So it's all in your head. It's not fake, it's not fluff. It's up to you if you want to make that money or if you don't. So
give us a recap. How'd you do it? How'd you do it?
I've been practicing a Mario Kart for 8 weeks straight for this moment. I threw banana peels. I actually fucked you up from behind. I race past him. What you do is you push the pedal down farther than everybody else with strength.
Ah.
It's because I can squat like 4 or 5, 10 times. Yeah!
This guy does interviews worse than Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby! Ricky Bobby! Shake your face! Shake your face!
Come on, man!
Jackson! And of course, MJ, last place. Give us a recap. How'd you do it? How'd you do it, bro? What's the secret? We can't forget last place. We can't forget last place. What do you have to say for the man in last place?
You know, it's all about drive, determination. This man had a mission on his mind.
He had to go.
And, you know, some things don't always line up. It is what it is. That doesn't take away from the man he is.
He's so uncomfortable right now.
This go-kart was set up. So, fuck the go-kart. MJ, what do you got to say? Nothing. There you go. There you go, folks. The man at his finest. No worries. Thank you.
I'm dead. All right, that's it. You heard it here, folks. Great crashing with you. What happened to your arm, Sebastian?
No, it looks good. It looks good.
Carlos.
What? He's doing the fucking robot?
No, he's actually doing good.
Hi, guys.
This is lunar, so basically
Lunar panels. Yo, guys, let's go sell some lunar panels. Lunar panels, midnight club.
It's backed by the moon. It's backed by the moon.
It's midnight, but we can set an appointment for 1 a.m. My engineer's right around the corner. He's finishing up an appointment right now at 12:30.
Fuck the governor. It's backed by the moon. Okay?
Lunar panels,
It's
bro.
backed by the moon.
It's the new thing. We on the moon, baby. Lunar panels to the moon.
I said, I'm pretty sure you already had a lot of lunar guys stop by. Talk to me about the lunar program that we have.
Lunar program? Yeah, but they wanted a lot of money out
This
front.
lunar program is a little bit different actually.
It's past your bedtimes. Go to bed.
I will come after you, sir.